This is the Saris MHS bike rack. MHS stands for Modular Hitch System. It's a modular rack because it comes in a variety of options. So it comes with multiple bases, that's your starting point. It comes with a 1+1, 2+1, or 3+1. And on those bases, you can then install a variety of racks. So 1+1, you can install one rack plus one more, and I'll explain what that plus is in a bit. The 2+1, you can install two racks plus one more, and 3+1, same thing. So it's not just bike racks, you can also install a cargo cage on the base. And there's a couple different rack options. I have the 2+1 here, so it's 2 plus 1 bonus. And I have the duo racks on all three. They also have the Uno with one swing arm instead of the two, so the one arm in the front wheel and then a strap on your rear wheel. But they're both available. The Uno's a little bit cheaper. The Duo is kind of the trendier style right now. The +1 bit I mentioned is an additional bike rack that you can install. So 2+1, it's one extra. But you can do this +1 plus that cargo cage I mentioned. So you can get a cargo cage and a bike. So it mounts a little differently to the base than the other pieces. The main two racks are very modular and they clamp onto the base very quickly and easily. The third, it requires some bolts. It's designed to be taken on and off fairly easily, but it is much more complicated than the first two, and it's just a slightly different mount. It's also much closer to the second bike than the second bike is to the first. So it is raised up about 4 inches. So that helps with that offset a little bit. Now the modular nature of this rack does make it a little more complicated to purchase because you have to buy the base in the 1+1, 2+1, 3+1 option and then choose what trays to put on it. So you have some choices to make. They do make it slightly easier by offering a bundle. So this is the 2+1 rack I have here, and that's $900 in a bundle, plus another $350 for the third bike add-on. If you order this rack online, it'll come delivered to your house in a lot of boxes. You have a box for the base, and then a box for each tray. So for this rack, I had one box for the base, one box for tray 1, one box for tray 2, and then a box for the add-on tray. So I had 4 boxes show up at my house, and they're big boxes. The rack is super easy to assemble because of the one-piece trays and modular design. You install the clamp to the tray, and then the tray to the base. That's super simple and quick. Then you slide the rack into the receiver, insert the bolt, tighten with a wrench, and install the lock. When it comes to the capacity of the rack, ignore everything you've seen on any other YouTube video, because Saris recently updated the load capacity on the rack. It used to be 60 pounds per tray, now it's 100 pounds, so it can handle the heaviest e-bike you can find. Now when you add the third bike on it, the third tray has a capacity of only 35 pounds, and it does reduce the capacity on the other two down to 80 pounds. Still enough to handle the beefiest e-bikes, and then on the outside, it's gonna have to be an acoustic bike for sure. Each tray on the rack includes an integrated lock. I can just pull that out from the base, and it's plenty long. It's rubber coated cable, so it won't scratch up your bike, and you can then just plug that in, and it has the same key for all 3 locks. If you buy just the 2+1 without the third lock, third rack, they will give you a lock ready for that third rack, so if you make that purchase, you're prepared. That same key also works to unlock the hitch pin. When you're done, unlock it, slide it all back in together. You're good to go. Saris does something completely unique with their rack that no other rack of this type does. Any rack with the 2 swing arms on either end. They include a wheel block and a wheel strap for each of the trays. Now in all honesty, I don't actually use these because any other rack of this type doesn't have it. I've been successful with many racks without having this, and I've been successful with this rack without these. But it does provide a little extra security and stability. These racks do tend to have a bit of bike wobble, which is unnerving, so the block and the strap do help there. Now the strap's super handy if you're running fenders because you have to run the arm extremely low on the wheel. This makes sure you're good and secure, but the block, I don't know, I'm not too sure. I've never actually had a need for it. Got a little bonus tip for you. This is something I like doing with this rack that you won't find in the brochure, no one seems to talk about, but it is super handy. So when you unload your bike, what do you do with it? Something you can do that's super easy is load up your back wheel right by it, Lower that down. Now your bike is stable. You can get into the back of your car, do whatever you want, hop on your bike, you're ready to go. So however many bikes I have, I do this going each way, and it's super handy. All right, let's get the bike loaded back up here. Walk on the front wheel. All right, so the rack can easily be lowered to allow access into the back of my car. So pull the handle, lower it down, and now I can come around, open the back, and access whatever I need. And this bike has 800 mil bars, and there's still plenty clearance there. And raise it back up, grab that same handle, lift up, now it's locked back into place. The bike rack is mostly metal construction, but there is some plastic. Like the end caps, those are plastic, non-structural. Everything plastic is non-structural here. There's a cover here for the pivots, and then the wheel chocks, those are plastic, but they make contact with your wheel. Also, there is a skid plate here on the bottom. That's so if you bottom out your rack, it will hit that and notify you to stop before you cause any real damage. So it's a nice replaceable plastic part there that if you do drag your rack, you're damaging a super cheap part instead of the rack itself. So in addition to all the modular accessories or pieces that I discussed, you can also get a tail light for it. So you can get a bolt-on light that works when the rack is in both the upright and down position that will show your brake lights and your turn signals for a little extra safety. Now this is an awesome rack, but there are a few things that I wish were different. Number one on the list, this +1 rack, because it sticks out further or raises higher in this position, I can't raise the rack all the way up to its full locked position. I have to use that one position lower. I wish I could lift it all the way. Leaving this on, I worry that someone's gonna just slam the rack up and slam it into my car, causing damage to both the rack and my car. So I always take this off unless I have a need for 3 bikes. Number two, it is super heavy. So each tray is roughly 33 pounds and the base is, I think, 35 pounds. So it's roughly, with the 3 trays and the base, I'm looking at 140 pounds. Dragging this out of the garage to put it back on the car is really hard. If you put it on your car and leave it there forever, it's not a big deal. But if you do like to put your rack on and take it off regularly, you're gonna notice that weight. They do sell a dolly that makes it super handy to roll it around, but you still have to lift it up into the hitch, so it's still some work. Also the base, it's super wide, and it's wide enough that it blocks my license plate and the majority of my rear view camera. These wheel chocks can also be kind of annoying. I like to make sure my bike is good and secure, so I push this on super hard, and then when I go to take it off, it will catch on knobby tires. If you have slick tires, road bike or other slicks, not a problem, but catching on those knobs, it becomes really hard to get it back off, and I have to finagle it, push and pull until I can finally get that released. It happens because the underside of this is a hard lip. Without that lip, if it were well rounded and filled in instead of hollow, it wouldn't catch on the knobs and it would be much easier. And this, you can see why it's catching on the knobs. You can see this is completely hollow underneath. And so these edges, those catch on the knobs and make it really annoying. If this were filled in and solid, it would be so much easier. These wheel chocks are also adjustable. So I have it in the highest position right now because this is a 29er bike. But if I wanted to, I can pull out this. It's a toolless process. So it's basically a handle with a bolt, a bit like a through axle. So I can unscrew this. It takes a little while to get fully unscrewed. And while it's toolless, it is just kind of a bit of a pain in the butt here. I feel like it should be loose, but it's not. There we go. So then I can slide it up and down into any position I want. When I find a position, I can put that in, and it can be kind of annoying and difficult to find the other side to get this to screw in. But once you find it, then it goes in, no problem. If you're running fenders, they do sell a special wheel chock for bikes with fenders. but I'm not sure why that's needed. It works just fine without. You just lower the chock down to the lowest point, and then it'll meet your tire fairly low. That's where having the wheel strap comes in super handy, because it gives you that extra protection, but it allows the chock to come in below your fender, which is the same thing they're doing anyway with the special wheel chock, so I'm not entirely sure what it's for. Loading a heavy e-bike onto some racks can be a super challenge. This rack does offer an e-bike ramp, but I find it's just not necessary. All I need to do is load one arm, or open one arm all the way down, open the other arm to vertical, then bring the bike around from the side, lift up the front, just roll it along the tray until I reach the end, and raise the arm, and I'm in. A ramp really doesn't make it much easier than that. The Saris MHS is a heavy-duty, easy-to-use bike rack that's super versatile. If you find yourself going car camping with the kids one weekend, and then riding your e-bikes the next, and then maybe going out on single track with your buddies the next, this can handle all of that and more. The versatility is really unprecedented. Being able to put on a cargo rack one day and then bike racks the next, no other rack does that. If you're interested in learning more about the MHS rack, check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the trails.